Welcome to episode 150 of Drew's Sports Crew here on this Sunday morning. Myself, Drew Skyberg. Look, bringing you the news in the Wisconsin sports world, and unfortunately, it started as a great weekend for Wisconsin sports fans, right? A Bucks win in there too, and then we get to Saturday night, the divisional round, and felt like the Packers had it. And yeah, I'll go through that game, of course, here on episode 150. Um, I honestly thought Packers were going to win this game, and I coming into it, right? I mean, as many where we were optimistic, right? Which as fans, that's our job to do, right? Root for our squad, and always think we can win some way. And in the game, it was like, okay, we actually can do this, and we were right there to do it, to make it a 7-point game there and get back touchdown. Now we're down, right? I mean, down 3, and it's just a sad way to end it. I'll go through more of like stats and stuff, right? If you're listening to this, you watch the game. I'm gonna make that assumption just because it doesn't make sense for me to recap it all. I would recommend go watching highlights. But look, it was an unfortunate way to end the season, and what I'm gonna do, right, to offer a different kind of perspective is look kind of like what's next. So we'll look at unrestricted free agents for this upcoming offseason. We'll look at also then like contracts and cap space. So I'll look at that in this episode. And then also we'll talk through the Milwaukee Bucks. They had a 1-1 week. They had their worst loss of the season, I think, on paper, which it was a 40-point loss against Cleveland. Giannis was out in that one, so it was like, okay. But then Dame had his best performance of the season on Saturday, yesterday. So, bittersweet week for Bucks. And just a scheduling note, I will not have a Bucks player of the week post up because they played 2 games. And I think it would go to Dame. I would give it to nobody on Wednesday, but Dame had the best game Saturday. So it's like, okay, I'm really doing a player of the game. No need to do that. So that was why you won't see one of those this week. Aaron Jones was the Packers player of the game for their final game here of the year. Rightfully so. I'll go into that when we talk more about the football. But otherwise, scheduling, right? You're hearing episode 150 right now. And then Journey to Million will be coming back your way. Planning Wednesday right now, could be Thursday. So I'll keep you posted on social media at Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, X, TikTok, Drew Sports Crew, YouTube, and Facebook. So those are the announcements here. Let's get into episode 150. We'll start with that football game. Green Bay and San Francisco. Green Bay comes in 10.5-point underdogs. And I thought that line was steep, and turns out it was. But I was thinking, maybe Packers 5.5. But Packers did at one point. So we always talk ESPN probability. After that Aaron Jones big run, they were up to an 80% chance to win this game. And then it just shot down. It just boom, went straight down. It was like, really? Okay. Looking at why the Packers lost. They turned the ball over, right? San Francisco did not throughout this game. That was the difference in this ball game. 330 to 356. So Packers got outgained by 26, but you look at it like that, it was like, okay. They do get outgained. They won the key to beating San Francisco was winning time of possession. They did that. They held the ball more. They put together nice drives. They were leading in the fourth quarter, which this was the first time Kyle Shanahan team they won after coming back in the fourth quarter. They never play from behind, and when they do, they lose. It was 2 turnovers, though. 2 interceptions. Look, one of them wasn't Jordan Love's fault. The other at the end was hero ball force. And you don't want to. The biggest thing I don't want to do, and I've seen media do this already, which you don't want to portray how Jordan Love played based on that one last throw and that other interception. I don't think that's a good way to portray it all. I think Jordan Love, to a degree, played better than Brock Purdy. And look at Purdy, there were some dropped interceptions in there. I don't think interceptions are a good indicator. So my point is, Purdy was very inaccurate throughout the game, and he did make the throws when they mattered, though, there at the end. Got to give credit where credit's due. But throughout, I mean, Savage dropped a pick six. Another, it would have been pick six. We had a few other drops. Keshawn Nixon dropped one. But then also just some crazy overthrows, trying to wipe his hand off mid play there at the end. It was not trying to be a hater. It was just like, I don't know, I think Jordan Love played a lot better than people thought. He's 21 34. Purdy was 23 of 39 for 252 yards, with one touchdown. And you look at the stats, Aaron Jones played, okay, and doesn't really, no need to compare the two, but Aaron Jones played as well as Christian McCaffrey in this game. Healthy Aaron Jones, 18 of 108, had a big 53-yard run. That was fun, and you love to see that. And I don't know, I'm just seeing Aaron Jones play the way he played these last few games just makes he's a Packers legend. And there's no denying that. That big 53-yard run, he had just had a crazy postseason. He was a big part of why the Packers made it this far. He's like the vet on this young offense. Romeo Doubs, then another game leading the Packers receiving here. Led it last week and this week, 4 for 83. So that was what we saw in this game. Packers did have more first downs too. So there's just like, it felt like, okay, the game was kind of in their favor, but again, it all goes away. I do want to mention, though, I'll bring it up now because I'm not going to just full on recap everything. The Anders Carlson missed field goal at the end, right? That came to be the difference if we like to pick out a play. And I don't really like to cherry pick plays, but he missed it, right? At the end of the day, the snap on the second and third field goal, both of them were low. Whelan was able to handle that first one. He was able to handle the second one, but I think that played a difference too in Carlson missing that kick. I'm not going to try it. Carlson missed the most kicks out of any kicker this year in the NFL. So I'm not, like, there's obviously a reason, right? There's something else going on. It's not the holder or the snapper. There's definitely some on the kicker here, right? Carlson has missed the most in all the NFL this season. However, right, there's been just some things like that not going in his way. But it was a 41-yarder. Just frustrating to see. And I'm shocked to hear, like, the report was Matt LaFleur. Like, this was actually reported in game. I couldn't believe it. And you all heard this too, I'm sure. Matt LaFleur praise, like, he basically said he had no confidence in Anders Carlson. I've never heard a head coach say that about their kicker. So I was shocked LaFleur said that, but I mean, he's right. There's no denying it. There was no confidence, and I honestly, like, after when I saw him, I was like, he's gonna miss this, and I wasn't even trying to be negative. You just know he misses one a game, right? All of his kicks, like, he's missed it over like 60% of the games this season. He's missed at least one kick. It's like remarkable. And the Packers did get a big block on an extra point or on a field goal too from Jake Moody, but Moody didn't necessarily miss it, Keshawn Nixon also had a huge return. That was fun. All-pro returner. Finally gets to show it off here in the playoffs. I don't know, those were things that stood out. And then the defense played well again. It's going to be a really tough call for this Packers, right, for Brian Gutekunst and Murphy and others. Is Joe Barry coming back? Right? I mean, I could see a world where tomorrow we see a Packers exposed, or we see it reported Packers parting ways with Joe Barry. It'll say Packers, Joe Barry mutually part ways or something. I could see that, but I also could see the chance where he gets retained after this big. I mean, if you look the last 2 weeks of the season and then these past, like, the last 4 weeks, the defense has played a lot better. The defense has been young too, and they're going to get some pieces back next year. They're going to probably draft, So I don't know. Is really, like, I'm skeptical. I have no clue what to expect. I'm sure you'll see some changes on his coaching stuff. You always do. It's football. It's any sports. You always see some change to this team, and we will next year. But on the receiving side, it was good to just see the balance again. Christian Watson only having one reception was the hardest part for me. It was sad to see, but at the same time, I understand. Like, couldn't really get him in that one play he had, though. It was a nice 11-yard play, right? It was down the side, hit him in the flats, let him run. It's good to see Jaden Reed work in there, and then Dobbs was the big play guy again. 6 targets. It was just beautiful balance of targets. And that's one reason I love Jordan Love and LaFleur and the staff. Just really being able to diversify this offense. Dobbs with 6, Kraft with 6, Jones with 6. Musgrave with 4, Reed with 4, and seeing it like that was I really enjoyed. And then Emmanuel Wilson slotting as the number 2. I think the Packers are going to draft a running back day 2, day 3. I think that's a lock. Not just because Jones. I'm If you would ask me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have thought Jones would be on the team still. I'm glad he is. Don't get me wrong, like Packers legend, as I stated. Now with how he's been performing the last few weeks, now it's like you still want him part of the offense, but then you want a guy to eat up some of those, boring downs. I don't think you bring AJ Dillon back. I know, fan favorite, average under 3 yards a carry basically throughout the year. Some games average under 2 yards a carry. I don't think you bring him back. I don't, and I know that people won't like that. Maybe you bring him back if it's a cheap deal, but you draft a guy. You have to draft a guy, and I'm not round 7 like Lou Nichols. Nothing against Lou Nichols, but you have to draft a guy who you're confident can have a role in this offense, carve out some sort of role, because you need a guy to eat up some carries. So Aaron Jones, we don't have it like the Bears game where he gets hurt after and then's out, over half the season. So that's kind of what we need. You extend Love. Love's number 1 priority. You give him what he wants, right? I mean, I know that can seem extreme, but there's not often you find a quarterback like Jordan Love who performed this year. And I know there's some interceptions there, but there's not often you find a guy like this. You draft or you draft him, you keep him for this long, you extend him. So that's goal number 1, priority. This defense then too, like there's some like Van Ness ended up getting more in there. Preston Smith's future with the team's going to be interesting. I think he's going to stay based on like the cap hit and looking at it, but the defense is going to be interesting, right? Darnell Savage is going to be an unrestricted free agent. So I'm looking at 2024 free agents, right? Spot Track does a great job of this, so you can check their site out on how they break it down. And like there's some guys. I'm seeing Keshawn Nixon, Darnell Savage, are going to be guys you want to bring back. I really want back. Hopefully you can pay them what they want. I think you bring back maybe not DeGuara. Like there's a lot of tight end going on here. There's a lot of guys. Brett Sims might be cheaper and has had a role. So maybe you let some of those guys go. Jonathan Owens you bring back. Hopefully Eric Wilson. Shout out Eric Wilson. Diving on that fumble. He saved Keshawn Nixon's big return. Those are plays you just love to see. You bring him back for sure. But those are like priorities for me. The guys you let walk, I think you let Dylan walk. I think you let Josh Nijman walk. They got to draft another lineman in this draft, or 2 or 3. So overall, though, there's not a lot of guys who you're worried about like needing to bring back, I feel. However, like looking at the salary cap, they have an interesting decision with David Bakhtiari. David Bakhtiari's cap hit is $40 million next year. He is going to be 16% of the cap. What I'm saying is he has a $19 million dead cap, so there's a $20 million spread there that you could save. You could save $20 million if you cut him. If he's not able to go, and that extension just hurt this franchise. It put them a year back in terms of cap space, is what we're seeing. That's one that's going to be a tough decision. Like you might let him go. As sad to say, you could have got something for him last summer, you didn't. But otherwise, there's not a lot of guys who it really afford. It would make sense to cut. There's not really logical cap casualties per se that we might see gone. It's tough that Eric Stokes hasn't been able to be out on the field. That's been a tough loss. That's kind of a guy you hoped could make some plays. And yeah, the beauty of this team being young, you don't have to worry really about the other cap hits. I mean, that's the beauty of this team. The youth makes it a lot easier to hang in there. And again, the draft picks then too. We'll talk through the drafts, of course, on Jerry Million, but Packers, they do the Jets pick. So they have pick 19 in the draft, 19th overall pick is what I'm seeing. And then right there, the Jets pick. So they have the 38th overall pick in the second round. So that's going to be a nice pick. Hopefully you can get a defensive player or so. And then right, the Packers have almost all their draft picks. They have some 6th rounders in there, some 4th rounders. Should be a good draft. I'm excited. like in terms of the draft picks. I do wonder though. We have to bring it up with Anders Carlson. What's the future? Are they going to let him go after year one? I don't think so. I think that the team or leadership that drafted him, I think they're going to want to see a little bit more before they make a decision. I do guarantee they're going to bring in competition. They have to. It'd be silly if they didn't. So I can guarantee someone's going to be coming in, whether it's a savvy vet who's been around for years kicking, or it's some young guy. I think they're going to go with the vet route. Get a kicker to come in, and we'll see. But it shows, you need special teams to win games. We saw this 2 years ago with the Packers. You see it now. Special teams can lose you games. It can also win you games, but more times it can lose you games. It feels so. That's what I got for the Packers. Right, another season coming to an end. It's surprising to see him this far, but last team with 7 other teams here in the divisional round. But it's also sad because this team could have easily went to the championship game, and who knows? Who knows where else? There's momentum, and it's just sad to see that because it's not often you can just say, hey, like you make it to the division round. Oh, we'll be back next year. You can't say that. It's same with baseball. Basketball is a little different. Basketball, you make the playoffs. Space, everyone makes the playoffs essentially. So a little different, but baseball and football, you don't often get here. You gotta. And the Packers' recent memory, we've been gifted where we have, but gotta cherish seasons like these, and you just gotta move on. So sad to see it come to an end, but yeah, definitely some memories here this season, the 2-5 or whatever they were, and come back now to almost beat the 49ers, make it to the championship game. Like, it's been a good turn of season. Matt LaFleur definitely needs to stick with this franchise for years to come. I think all the confidence is in this coaching staff, and that's one thing that I love to see. Like, there's never been a question of, is Matt LaFleur going to stick around in Green Bay? It's been how much long, like, when can we extend him again? It just, last time I felt like this with a coach in a Wisconsin sports team was Craig Counsell, and I hope it doesn't go the same way. We don't see him coaching the Bears in years to come. But my point is, all confidence lies with Matt LaFleur and this staff. So love to see it, and that's gonna wrap up the football side here. For it's sad, season's over. No more Packer recaps here on Drew Sports Crew. Instead, we're gonna go to the Bucks. Right, we have Milwaukee Bucks. We have some basketball here, and then we have baseball coming up. Already pitchers and catchers report in 3 weeks. We get to see Pat Murphy, right? Football season might be over, but Pat Murphy's season has begun. But otherwise, basketball too. Talking more through it. I don't even want to talk about that Cleveland Cavaliers game on Wednesday. They lost by 40. Giannis got ruled out an hour or two before the game, I think it was. And it was gorgeous Niang, I believe, is how some people say Georges. I believe it's Yorgis Niang. Look, it was 13-14. He was making everything. It was one of those games that was like, really? And then Mitchell scores 31. They won by 40. The Cavs are really approaching the Milwaukee Bucks in terms of record. They're only like 3 games back now. So I'm kind of worried. Wednesday and Friday, we play them twice this week. Both those games matter in terms of just having the head-to-head record over them. But again, the Bucks do get a gift where they play Detroit back-to-back. They only win game 1 by 6 over them. And it was the same story of, we can't play defense, but we can score a bunch of points. They score 30 plus in each of the 4 quarters. They beat Detroit, and that was just a win we love to see. Giannis 10 for 16. He did miss 11 free throws. That was the story. He had 22 free throw attempts, made only 11, but had 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, a block. It was just classic Giannis stat line. Dame with his best game of the season, 12 of 22, 5 for 11 from 3. 16 to 16 from the line, a plus 18 plus minus with 45 points, 11 assists, 6 boards. Vintage Dame, the Damian Lillard we'd love to see, and it was great to have him here in this one. Jay Crowder's been back as the story 2 this week. Gets in 14 minutes on Saturday, yesterday's game. Didn't play that well, but he's getting minutes, and we're going to need him down the stretch. He's like that classic trade deadline acquisition where you lost him from injury, but you get him back for free. So having him and Connaughton in a similar role is needed for this team moving forward. The Bucks did go pretty thin on Saturday, which was surprising to see. They only went 9 deep, so it was Crowder, Portis, Connaughton, and Jackson coming off the bench. So that's what we saw in this game. Malik Beasley also played well, like just quietly well, like 11 points, 2 rebounds. Like he does everything right. Plus 22, plus minus led the team with that. So they actually had a good margins when he was on the court, which usually seems to be the case, as he's just a great ball player, makes right plays, right time, and a guy you want to have out there. So this week games, the Bucks have 4 games, 1 on the road, 3 at home. Starting tomorrow at Detroit, 6 p.m. game. I think they're going to win that one. Back-to-back games against Cleveland, Wednesday and Friday, and then New Orleans on Saturday. So back-to-back there then from Friday to Saturday. This week's tough. I don't exactly know how the Bucks are going to perform. I think they are going to win. They're going to go 500 or better. I do think they would probably lose one of those games to Cleveland just because it's tough to beat Cleveland. It's tough to beat that team. They match up well against the Bucks. Cleveland and Indiana are the 2 teams that match up very well against the Bucks, and it happens to be they're in the same division. So that's just annoying to see. It's just the way they play offense and the way, like, some of the guys they got, like Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, those guys match up well. And then for the Pacers, we know it's Halliburton, we know it's the perimeter scoring, but then it's also Miles Turner, right? Those guys match up very well against the Bucks, and I'm thinking 2-2 or 3-1. Probably 3-1 is where I'm going to go. I don't think they lose to New Orleans, but we've seen them get picked off by a team like that, like with Utah, for example. So you never know, but that's stuff to monitor. They have a tough road. It's one of those West Coast road trips where they go to Denver. Portland should be a win, but then they have Dallas in there, Utah. It's always tough to play in Utah, and then at Phoenix. So that's a tough stretch coming up. So get these wins when you can at home, and then you try to win a couple on the road. That's what it's going to be. But otherwise, I mean, that's all I got here for the basketball side. There's not much going on. Again, Wednesday's game was boring. I mean, Lillard put up only 17. It was just a sloppy game. And Saturday featured a lot of offense, but they couldn't stop Detroit offensively too. But they did get a win out that nonetheless. It was a win they must get, was what I was saying, and they get it. Now Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday are your 4 games this week. But that's all I got. At Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, X, TikTok, Drew Sports Crew, YouTube, and Facebook. Been doing a lot of other posts, like some NFL stuff, of course, whether I'm looking at like ranking teams or doing a little tournament thing. Check those out. I've also done some of that with NBA, and then with baseball coming up soon, definitely will be doing that for that too. So that's, again, all I got at Drew Sports Crew too. I mentioned that already. Thank you all for listening here to yet another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.